Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chicago Fire's star return is great, but one character's exit remains baffling. One Chicago Fire character is surprisingly returning at the beginning of season 14, which is exciting, but their appearance doesn't erase another firefighter's frustrating absence. The NBC procedural drama TV series has always essentially been a revolving door of characters. People often come and go, and the cast is ever-changing. However, some exits are more disappointing and confusing than others. Weeks before the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale, it was announced that Daniel Keary and Jake Lockett, who play Darren Ritter and Sam Carver, respectively, wouldn't return for Season 14. Their departures were a result of budget cuts. Many were upset, given that both Ritter and Carver are fan-favorite Chicago Fire characters. But at the very least, one of them will get closure. In a surprising turn of events, Keary is returning for Chicago Fire Season 14 in the wake of his frustrating exit at the end of Season 13. The news about Keary leaving leaked weeks before the finale, so it was quite shocking and maddening when the last episode debuted and his character Ritter had very little screen time in it. Thankfully, the original One Chicago TV show is making up for its mistake and bringing Keary back for a proper goodbye. For a character who has been around for 7 years, Ritter deserves closure. The Season 13 finale didn't give him that, so it's only right that the NBC procedural drama series bring Ritter back and bring his story to an actual close. It's unclear exactly how many episodes of Chicago Fire Season 14 Keary will appear in, however, it's expected to be at least a couple. Ritter won't be making his grand exit during the premiere, but he will probably be gone by episode 4 or 5. The reasoning behind Ritter's departure is also unknown, meaning anything is possible. The writers could kill off Ritter in Season 14, which certainly wouldn't be the first time a Chicago Fire character has died, but it would be the most unfortunate outcome. Or he could be a victim of the Chicago Fire Department layoffs that were teased during Season 13's last few episodes. Only time will tell what causes Keary's character to leave the show. While Keary's return is exciting, it doesn't make up for the fact that Lockett isn't being rewarded the same luxury of giving his Chicago Fire character a proper farewell in Season 14. At first, it was unclear whether Lockett would reprise his role as Carver in the upcoming episodes. However, a recent update confirms the Season 13 finale was his last outing. During an interview with Us Weekly, Hanako Greensmith, who plays Violet McCamey, alluded to Lockett's absence in Season 14. Firstly, the actress said Violet is in a new dating pool, and that her character will be learning how to love with heartbreak. Anyone could infer those comments to mean that Violet won't be in a relationship with Carver in Season 14. Then Greensmith reflected on her time working with Lockett in Chicago Fire, saying how it was a dream to work with him. Based on these comments, it seems as though the two actors filmed their final scenes together during the Season 13 finale, verifying that Lockett won't appear as Carver in Season 14. So, unlike Ritter, Carver won't get the closure he deserves. Despite how Chicago Fire Season 13 ended, Carver won't be staying in the Windy City to be with Violet. Yes, his last scene was of him kissing her and declaring his love for her. But earlier in the episode, Carver told Violet that he was debating transferring to the Denver Fire Department, as he wanted to start anew after struggling so much in Chicago. When the on and off couple exchanged I love yous, one couldn't help but think that Violet would be Carver's reason to stay. According to everything we know behind the scenes though, he is still going through with his move to Denver. Chicago Fire Season 14 begins with a time jump, meaning that Carver will likely already be in Denver at the start of the premiere. However, Carver's move doesn't line up with his actions at the end of the Chicago Fire Season 13 finale. The episode showed so much promise for his character and his future in Chicago. Carver had a job he loved, surrounded by coworkers who were like his family. And he had finally gotten the girl he had been pining over for seasons. Carver's departure simply doesn't make sense. Perhaps if the NBC series were to bring him back for a few episodes at the beginning of Season 14, like Ritter, Carver could get better closure. Then his exit might be more acceptable. Unfortunately, that's not the case and Carver isn't returning. On the bright side, at least Chicago Fire is doing right. Character returns to Firehouse 51, fans rejoice. Chicago Fire has always had a way of pulling heartstrings by bringing back familiar faces just when we least expect it, and this latest star return is no exception. But as exciting as it is to see one fan-favorite firefighter back in action, the lingering question about another character's abrupt departure remains as puzzling as ever, and frankly, it still stings. The NBC drama is known for its mix of high-stakes emergencies and deeply personal storylines, making every cast change feel like it has real emotional weight. That's why the return of a certain familiar face feels so rewarding. When we last saw this character, they had left under bittersweet circumstances, with the door left open just enough to keep hope alive for fans. Their reappearance feels like a warm hug, a reminder of Firehouse 51's found family spirit. But for every reunion, there's a goodbye that still doesn't sit right, and one of those goodbyes, the baffling exit of a major character, continues to gnaw at longtime viewers. The joy of the return. Let's start with the good news. Seeing a star like Jesse Spencer, Matt Casey, back in the Firehouse reminds us why we fell in love with Chicago Fire in the first place. Casey's presence has always been a grounding force. He's the guy who keeps a level head in the middle of chaos, who always looks out for his team, and who brings a quiet emotional depth to every scene. His return in Season 13, even if temporary, comes at a time when 51 feels more scattered than usual. The younger firefighters are finding their footing, the leadership is being tested, and having Casey walk through those doors again feels like an anchor dropping into turbulent waters. The chemistry he shares with Bowden, Kidd, and Severide instantly clicks back into place. Casey isn't just a firefighter, he's the heart of the house. And watching him step back into that role reminds us just how much we've missed that steady presence. It's a treat for viewers, and it provides a narrative boost to the show. The baffling exit. And yet, for all the joy Casey's return brings, fans can't help but feel a twinge of frustration when thinking about a character who left with little fanfare. Blake Gallo. Gallo, played by Alberto Rosend, was introduced as a daring, big-hearted rookie with a tragic backstory. Over several seasons, we watched him grow into a confident firefighter, form close bonds with Violet and Ritter, and become a core part of the Firehouse's younger generation. His energy brought a spark to the show. He was impulsive, a little reckless, but always eager to prove himself. So when Gallo announced he was leaving Chicago to connect with his long-lost family, the moment felt rushed. Viewers barely had time to process his decision before he was gone. It was a quick goodbye, a few hugs, and then poof, just like that, one of the show's most promising young characters was gone. It wasn't a dramatic death, which would have been crushing, but it also wasn't the kind of fully fleshed-out farewell that a character like Gallo deserved. His departure felt more like a plot point than a proper send-off. Why fans are still confused. The baffling part of Gallo's exit isn't that he wanted to connect with his family. That actually tracks with his character's emotional journey. The problem is the execution. We never got to see the build-up to this choice. There were no deep conversations with Violet about what his absence would mean for their friendship. There was no reflection on how far he had come since joining the Firehouse. Instead, his final episode felt like a missed opportunity to explore the complexity of leaving a found family to discover your blood relatives. That's an emotionally rich storyline, and Chicago Fire usually excels at that kind of storytelling, but here it was over almost as soon as it began. Even after Gallo's exit, the show hasn't really addressed the void he left behind. Ritter and Violet have mentioned him in passing, but there's been no deeper acknowledgement of how losing Gallo affects them as a trio. It's as if the writers simply moved on, leaving viewers to wonder why one of the house's brightest stars was written out so quickly.